is Melba Burrell. I recognize you. For those of you who are in the room that may not know me, I'm Melba Burrell. Unlike Matt and Mike, I don't receive any part of my salary from the city, and I'm not associated with the city in any way. I'm here as a citizen. I've been coming to the city council meetings for more than 6 months and have rarely missed a work session or a regular meeting, and have sat outside waiting for many of the closed meetings. The 3 points I'd like to make tonight that I'd like to talk about the protocol for city council meetings. The work sessions, which is what we're in now, is where the real business is discussed, but of course, there's no action taken here. These meetings are not recorded, but minutes are taken and are part of the official record. When I first started coming, there was a work session almost every city council meeting. The protocol was to let the mayor or the clerk know if you wanted to address council. And on more than one occasion, work sessions were scheduled because I called or someone else called with a request to be on the agenda for the work session. Since Mayor Bentley has been gone, I've requested on more than one occasion to address council, and I was not permitted to because there was no work session scheduled or it had been canceled. The window for citizens to address council seems to have narrowed. It would seem that with the investigations that are going on, the citizens' concerns about their government, that you would want to make yourself more available to the voters in order to hear their concerns. Many of you have been caught on a recording where you said the public won't know if we don't tell them. We may not know what y'all doing behind closed doors, but it would certainly look more democratic and more like a welcoming democracy if you at least let the people get on the agenda when asked and listen to them. The second point I'd like to make about the protocol: the regular meetings are recorded by Georgia College and can be seen on YouTube and the College Station. But when we sit here in the meetings, and that's a regular session, which for those of you who may not be familiar that are here after this session is a regular session. And it is recorded, but the microphones are never used. And oftentimes people who sit in the chambers can't hear any of the discussion that's going on. It's very difficult to hear the discussion that's going on, but the microphones are available. It would be good. It would be good if the microphones were used so that people who are sitting in the room and who are present.
So like this, for the council
For the
chamber,
people to hear.
this doesn't project to hear.
There's no PA system.
So you don't have a PA system.
Well,
Well, I guess
this
what
is directly for the
what I'm
for
saying,
the,
what I'm
program.
saying to you, because I have asked this, we've asked before that we can't hear when we're here. Can you have a microphone so people can hear who are in the room? We thought the microphones worked. Honestly, the people who are here thought the microphones worked, but you just weren't using them. I mean, I'm totally innocent in saying that. I just thought
Right,
we
I
were
understand
not
that,
to
and
use
some
the
people,
microphone.
you would kind of think that,
Yeah,
but this would,
I
but
tried
it's,
to use
it's
this one,
actually,
and finally it was taken away because people tried to use it, and it was not being used. You could tell it was not being, it was not making a loud enough sound for us to realize that you were talking or that we were talking. So I honestly thought the microphones were there and you were just not using them. So you're saying the microphones are only there for broadcast.
Correct.
Okay. It would be good. That was a misunderstanding on many of our parts. We just felt like, turn them on. We'd like to hear. We'd like to hear what's going on. So if that's possible, it would be good to do that. I have asked to speak at the regular city council agenda. And I understand that citizens are not allowed to speak on the regular agenda, that it's only for resolutions. So it seems that when I come to regular city council meetings and present at the city council meetings, that it's a sanitized version of the work session, and that's the recorded version. That's the version that's out there on the YouTube, where the public does not get to hear the discussion unless they come into the room to hear the discussion. So when I had asked to be on the agenda, I was not allowed to be on the agenda because, the discussion was not allowed to go on in the public part of the meeting that was recorded. I believe it would be good for our community if the meetings where the discussion is going on would be allowed to be on the recorded sessions that's made available to the public. Not everybody can come here and hear what's going on. At the last meeting, Mr. Reynolds asked how the council came up with appointments to the ethics committee and when the discussion took place. I thought it was interesting. The response was from one of the council people that names had appeared in a folder at the last meeting. It made me as a citizen wonder, how did the names get in the folder? Who decided to put the names in the folder, and when did the discussion take place? There's no discussion that's taken place in public meetings about something as significant as appointments to an ethics board that has been going on for several months. There was no discussion. There were names placed in a folder, but all the public heard was 2 names. 1 name for each position with no discussion. And I found it really interesting when the meeting broke up and y'all were leaving today, and I was walking out. Ms. Shinholzer said to Mr. Reynolds, "We used to have the discussions until you came along." I was astounded. I was astounded. The discussions did used to take place, and they probably still are taking place. Or those names could not have gotten in those folders without someone having a discussion to get them in there.
Can I say something? Ms.
Certainly.
Chambers, since you brought my name up, first of all, I'm one of those that you always say you can't hear. There's no way that you heard that because I stopped right up here to Mr. Reynolds and you didn't hear that. So just be honest.
No, I heard it and I was standing over
No, I
there.
heard it.
Yeah.
I
No, I heard it.
don't speak that loudly.
Ms.
But
Shinholzer.
anyway, when Mayor Bentley was here, when you were here in a meeting, he reported to council that he had an appointment and council had an appointment. So we've been through that process before, and the council knows that they have to make recommendations or ask someone in the community if they would be willing to serve. Those people that the individual council members asked, we asked them to present a resume. That if they were interested, that we would have to have a resume and they could take it to City Hall. And that's what they did. Well, you know, with all the controversy going on, those people were limited. I mean, I asked someone, I asked several people, they declined. Other people asked, so that's how the names got in there, because the mayor charged us with that task while he was sitting in that chair. We were charged with that task, all of us.
There was never any discussion of how those appointments or nominations would be received. There was never any mention of a deadline for these applications to be taken. There was very little structure put into this. I think it would have been beneficial for us to lay out a structure for how this was supposed to proceed. But we never did. We never discussed it.
Right, we never did. That's exactly what I told you. We never discussed it, but when we did it in the past, that's how it was done.
I guess it is obvious that discussion took place. Names were
You
submitted,
can
and
say what you want to say,
somebody
but that's not true.
somebody eliminated out of the group of names that were presented. The elimination was made, and only 1 name for each position was presented. Now, the elimination was made in some manner, Ms. Shinholzer.
I
Now,
don't
I'm
know
not
anything about
accusing
the
anybody.
Ms. Burrell, I talked to 3 different individuals
But they
myself,
declined.
and unfortunately, the answer was no.
Right.
And of
So-
each time, and all 3 people I thought long and hard about.
Mhm.
And, we were asked by the mayor at that point in time, and generally speaking, as opposed to, looking throughout the city, we each kind of look within our own district.
Right.
That's what I did, and
Did you have any
unfortunately, I
names
was
in the
turned
folder?
down 3 different times.
Did you have any names in the folder, Mr. Chambers?
Did I?
Did
No,
you?
that's what
Okay,
I said. I
so
talked to 3
the-
different individuals, and none of the 3 were willing to, serve on this ethics board.
My point is not how many people any of you talked to. My point is several names were in a folder and it got eliminated down to one for each position, and those were voted.
We haven't-
There were not
We
several
haven't seen
names.
several names. All I've seen is
No,
one
I saw
name.
There were not several names, I don't know.
There was-
I would love for you to stand there and tell us what names they were, because there were not several names. Each one of us were given a task, we were to task and
I
find
was
and submit them
present.
to the
I was-
mayor's office,
I was
and that's what we did.
I was present when
So who were the names then, Ms. Burrell?
you didn't know us.
Well, you seem to know more than I know, because I didn't have any from my district. Mr. Chambers is telling you he didn't have any from his district. You could eliminate that by district, but you're saying that you know some names, so I'd like to know.
We'll go back and listen and see. We have a recording and we'll see.
Okay.
My third point is the other kind of meetings this group has called closed sessions. Recently, after being charged with ethics violations, this group of public officials went into closed sessions with another lawyer they hired, Thomas Richardson, and rewrote the ethics ordinance to make it so narrow that they can hardly be found guilty of doing any wrong. They can violate state laws or federal laws and still not be considered unethical. For the public, those of you here tonight, if you want to hear the facts about the ethics issues with the city, be it city hall, city courtroom at 9 a.m. on Friday morning, come early, because I'm sure you'll have a hard time finding a seat. But those are some protocol issues that I have addressed. On December 3rd, 2014, a member of the community sent an open records request to the clerk of the city asking the proof of payment of water bills for Barry Jarrett, city manager, to be provided. This request was made in order to address information that has been circulated in the community for some time that the city manager does not currently pay his water bill and has not paid his water bill for a long time. I will read the answer that was received by this person who made this request. As city clerk, I'm not in a position to dispel or confirm a rumor regarding whether Mr. Jarrett pays his water bill. As custodian of official records of the city of Milledgeville, I'm only authorized to respond to requests to provide inspection and or copying of city records and documents in the possession of the city. You may want to contact Mr. Jarrett directly or consider a specific request for a record or document inspection or production. Mr. Jarrett, I am not here tonight in order to embarrass you. All open records requests are forwarded to you, and I know you saw this open records request and did not respond. Therefore, I'm here tonight in an uncomfortable situation for myself. You, in a recording meeting of city council members, ascribe to retaliation as being the way to do business in our city of Milledgeville, and I have signed on to a complaint charging you with exacting retaliation. So it's with some fear of retaliation that I make this request. It makes sense to me that anyone in your position who received a private open records request or proof of payment of his water bills would have immediately come forward and offered proof of payment and put an end to this room. You, as a city manager, recently hired a collection agency to collect water bills from other people who do not pay their water bills, many of whom are poor or are without jobs. So surely you'll want to prove that your water bills are being paid. I have experienced retaliation in the past when I questioned public officials' misconduct. And there's been a recent incident with another community member that appears to be retaliation. The best way to avoid any type of retaliation, because I know it occurs, is to be as public as possible, which is why I'm standing here tonight. I did not start the rumor, but the rumor is rampant that you do not pay your water bill. What I'm asking you for that will constitute sufficient evidence of payment is copies of your water bills with your name and address on the bills, and canceled checks or copies of debits from your bank account for the same amounts as the water bills payable to the city of Milledgeville. The rumor is it has been an extended period of time, therefore I'm asking for the last 12 months proof of payment of your water bills. And could you please provide this to me by the next meeting of the city council?
you can put in another open records request and request that information, and the business office will provide.
I'm delivering that to you tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Burrell, if you would just a moment, in response to your concerns about protocol for meetings, I would like to ask, is there a protocol in place, and if so, where is it posted publicly?
I don't know that it's ever been posted publicly.
Seems like the sort of thing we would want to
Mayor
give our
Bentley,
citizens.
if you don't mind. Mayor Bentley, established a protocol 9 years ago when he was first elected. And it is within his, position and the authority of the mayor to establish a protocol for meetings. The previous, as far as work sessions are concerned, the previous mayor and council had committee structure. That also came under the purview of the mayor's authority, and he has established that meeting in a work session with everybody meeting at one time, that we don't get a redundancy of discussion of 2 to 3 people discussing something and then still bringing it back to council and it still being ready to be rediscussed. I've been in that type situation when I was an elected official back in the 80s and 90s, and I began to tire of that. I find this work session very much more productive. Up until some recent interest, which has really been nice to have people that come to a council meeting. We have had all of our work sessions in here. We would sometimes fill it up, and every now and then would come out here, but for the most part, they're in here. It was Mayor Bentley's thoughts at that point in time that, and from that point on, that we had 2 different types of meetings. One of which he suggested that we have a very open type meeting, and that is the work session. And then the other, that is our business meeting, and that's where he has asked that the protocol of it be conducted in a very business-like manner, and to go through the business of the city. And that's where the protocol came from.
And I respectfully ask again where this is published for the benefit of our citizens.
I don't know that it's ever been published, and I respectfully mentioned to you again that I don't know that it has been published.
Well, then it seems someone else may be better suited to answer this question. Mayor Walden, Mr. Jarrett, is there any response as to
Mr.
how
Chambers
these policies?
just answered your question, if that, you don't seem to understand,
Well, and I think you understand perfectly.
I understand that there is a protocol, but it is not publicly known. So how is it protocol if it's not public, publicly available?
And it's his authority under the authority.
And the people should have the privilege of knowing how that is part of the function.
And
It
I
should be
guess,
available
you know,
somewhere.
getting to this point that we had never been presented with that situation. It's something that we knew about, and the mayor informed other individuals as they would request.
How does the county do theirs? Maybe we could follow their pursuit.
It's a fine question, but I would prefer to direct it to the other members of the council. What would we like to do about making sure, who do we need to assign this task to make sure that the protocols are available on our website for the view of any citizen who would like to come and address council?
the thing that I was trying, the point that I was trying to make to you, Walter, is, Mr. Reynolds, is that we have a protocol that has been in place for a number of years, and everyone has been happy with that protocol, and we've never had anyone to object until tonight. Have brought that up. It's something that we can certainly look at and take under consideration, but it would be something that we would need to talk about and address.
Well, that is what I am asking the council to do. I would like the council to establish a committee to see what we can do about getting these policies published where they're available for the public's benefit.
And I don't think there would be anyone that would object.
And I, you know, one thing that I think that would help out, and I think the argument comes forth, and out here and with some anxiousness of being able to speak this evening. And that is trying to get to a point where we have an agenda set up. We usually establish an agenda by Friday morning, by noon. Here lately, it's been getting a little later and a little later. No offense, but I realize that sometimes you can't get everything together. And a suggestion of mine might be that as opposed to cutting off those that may wish to speak at the work session, by the time that agenda is finished, that we have it open so that the agenda is presented, so that if there are any individuals that would like to speak to that agenda, that they may be able to do so during that work session.
Well, I would agree with that. I think that it should be the opportunity of the public to see whatever issues we plan to discuss as far ahead as we plan to know, to discuss them. If we know on Wednesday this is what we're going to be discussing, then the people should know on Wednesday this is what we're going to be discussing.
There again, that is protocol that was established with our previous city manager, and that and really as far back as I can remember.
And it would
Back
be in
in,
our box by noon
yeah.
on Friday.
That,
And then that gives the
that's been
council
going on
enough
for decades,
Yes,
for that
it has.
deadline.
Yes, sir. And I think that a loose understanding of protocol is a lot like a verbal contract. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
I have a question for Mr. Jordan. I mean, there's no problem with us establishing something in writing concerning protocol, a protocol that we would like, but still that discretion is left up to the person that's to establish the protocol for the meetings. Am I correct in saying that that's part of the duties of the mayor that's listed under the charter?
That is
And
generally.
we cannot actually override his duties, his or her duties?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but that is generally what has been historically done here. I'm not speaking for Mayor Bentley, but I think when Mayor Bentley came into office, he was concerned that under a prior administration, there was a lot of folks that, particularly during the charter debates and all, that the whole evening meeting was being taken up by people that would stand in front of the TVs and speak. And that's why he chose to do the public discussion on most issues. We still have when it's a zoning matter, we have public hearings. Anytime we have a public hearing and the public is invited to speak, that is obviously done in a regular session. But I don't know necessarily that council could not adopt an order of business. I believe we do have an ordinance that has an order of business, and I don't see where council could not revisit that order of business. Obviously, it's been in place for many years. We did revisit it one time when we went to the second reading, and we also went to the policy of council having the option by majority of council to dispense with the second read. We went to a read by caption only. So I would think that if council wanted to adopt as part of the order of business something that addresses between work session and regular session, who speaks, how long they speak. I think the county has some policy that allows everybody speaks for 2 minutes that wants to speak. I know in Gibb County we used to have that type of policy. So I think there are things that council obviously can do as part of the order of business that, actually the agenda under our charter is the responsibility of the city manager. Our city manager, Mr. Jarrett, as well as his predecessor, Mr. Wood, always since the mayor is actually conducting the meeting, would always confer with the mayor and defer to him as to how he wanted to handle such matters. But I think you can take a look at it. And council made part of that ordinance, of the order of business, or it can be something. So, when I address Mr. Reynolds' concern, it can be then posted on the website. The current policy can be posted on the website.
Well, the other question that I had was Mr. Burrell stated that we changed the entire ethics ordinance.
Excuse me?
Ms. Burrell stated in her comments that we changed the entire ethics ordinance to, make the charges against us less than what they were. So would you explain to the audience?
Yeah, I don't wanna get into too much of that. We've got this hearing coming up Friday and everybody will have an opportunity to talk about that at the time. All I will tell you is that, the only changes to the ethics ordinance, as I understand it, was with regards to the special master.
And that was an addition, right? So the ethics ordinance remains the same.
Yes,
I need to speak on that.
the ethics ordinance itself, yes.
Mr. Jordan, the ethics ordinance now only applies to section 2-225, and we have a brief that has submitted one time already, and secondly, where it was narrowed. Everything was taken out of the ethics ordinance when more than 2 people on the city council are charged with a complaint. It now, the whole ethics ordinance was removed except for 2-225. All of it, when more than 2 people are charged. So, no, that is not correct what you said.
Like I said, I don't wanna get into it. I did not draft it.
No, it applies to you.
Mr. Richardson can speak to that.
But the
There's gonna be
ordinance still stands like it was.
The ethics-
The
the ethics ordinance still stands.
exactly like it was. Okay, so we just make the truth ourselves.
I do notice one thing, y'all took the ethics plaque down. There was a plaque that was in here. It said you were a city of ethics. I noticed it's gone. Have you? The nail fell off. It's gone. You don't apply. You rewrote the ordinance and had Mr. Richardson rewrite the ordinance. You no longer would even think about the Bible.
I have not recognized anyone.
I'm asking to be recognized, Madam Mayor. Is there a problem with that? All right, well, I hope, since I am an alumni of your group, I sat where Jimmy Jordan sits now for a number of years, long before you came on council. And I hope that you would give me special dispensation to say just a few words.
I will give you time. It is now 6:28, so you have 2 minutes because we start council at 6:30.
Well, I can use 2 minutes in identifying myself. But let me just see how fast I can talk. First of all, I want to congratulate Melba, General Boylan, Triple Cook.
Jay's not here.
Yeah, Jay's not here. You're doing a great job. It's something that needs to be done. We need to cast a little light on some dark areas here in the city that have developed, and much to my regret. I've been here in this city longer than anybody sitting up there. I was a city attorney back when some of y'all were in diapers. I've watched city politics for 60-odd years. And I've seen the ups and downs, and when I was city attorney, we had problems too. But we didn't have anything like I've witnessed here in the past 6 or 8 months. The damage to the city of Milledgeville and Baldwin County, in my estimation, is almost irreparable. Now with that, I want to mention these resolutions that you have on your agenda. And principally the wording where in both resolutions, and by the way, Jimmy, I'll bet you a Coca-Cola you didn't draw these resolutions. Huh?
I reviewed them.
You didn't draw them, though, did you? No, I mean, I could read it and tell that. The second paragraph says, the mayor and aldermen do not object to the citizens of Milledgeville and Baldwin County having the right to vote. Well, hallelujah. I'm glad to hear that. We're making a little progress here, but we take it all back in the next few words. But does oppose attempts to consolidate municipal and county operations without consultation and consent of the municipal and county elected officials. Any reasonable interpretation of that resolution would mean that, yeah, we want you to have the right to vote, but we got to give it to you first. And if we decide not to give it to you, then you don't have the right to vote on it. That's basically what you're saying. It's a sad day if you pass such a resolution. You know, we've heard from the director of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce saying what a mess has been made for the possibilities of us getting new industry and new business. And I heard the two gentlemen up here talking about all the jobs that are going to be. I've heard that for years. What I want to know is, where are they? It's the same old stuff. We can't get new industry because we're not on an expressway. Give me strength. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's an excuse.
Well, this city has given and contributed $200,000 for the last 2 or 3 years to the Central State Redevelopment Authority, and I think you just heard a report that there's going to be 300 jobs, and that building has been cleared, and that is being done because that is what our constituents have asked us to do. So
Your constituents have asked you to do that.
Yes, the constituents that we have talked to, sir, are asking for jobs.
Okay.
They want jobs because they need jobs. Some people here are actually going hungry because they don't have them.
I think we're
So
getting
we're
off the
listening
subject
to the
here,
call.
Madam Mayor. I don't mean to interrupt you.
And sir, it is 6:32, so I am going to have to call time so that I can
well,
start on the council.
We'll be back. You
Okay.
can count on that.
That's good. I would like for you to come back.
I don't believe that.
Could I have a motion that this meeting is adjourned? I have a motion and a second that this meeting is adjourned.
Steve,
Jimmy, come out and see me. I'll show you where the job's going, okay? We've used 340 jobs. Please don't let, okay, the construction is 15 miles long. I know what's going on.
okay, good. I'll be glad to.